It started as a simple signal, a faint echo across the stars, barely detectable at first. At first it seemed like nothing more than cosmic noise, lost in the vast expanse of space. But the scientists on Earth's top-secret communication networks soon realized something unusual was happening. A message, not from a human, but from an alien race, was trying to break through. It was a cry for help. The message came with a simple plea: we need assistance. Our survival depends on it. We request aid from the nearest advanced species. For the first few hours, no one took the message seriously. Governments around the world had always assumed that any contact with extraterrestrial life would come with a form of invasion, or perhaps an attempt to conquer humanity. The world was too used to tales of alien ships descending on Earth to destroy cities. But this was different. This message wasn't one of aggression. It was one of desperation. The signal came from deep within the Orion Nebula, an area of space long believed to be uninhabited by intelligent life. The aliens, whoever they were, had managed to send this transmission across the vast emptiness of space, and they were reaching out to Earth for help. The question was, why? Earth's leaders and top scientists were soon briefed on the situation. The message seemed genuine, but there was no way to verify its origin or intentions. The transmission, though faint and interrupted by cosmic interference, was unmistakably clear on one thing: it begged for help. The world watched in stunned silence as the transmission was The aliens spoke of their planet, a once thriving civilization now on the brink of collapse. A dying sun, resource depletion, and internal strife had left them vulnerable, and they had no choice but to send out this message in search of assistance. They couldn't survive much longer without help. But who were they? What did they want? Could they be trusted? As the world's governments convened in emergency meetings, the people were left with more questions than answers. Some feared this was a trap, a ruse to lure Earth into a vulnerable position. Others saw it as an opportunity for diplomacy and potential allies in the stars. Could Earth, a species still learning to coexist with itself, be trusted to help others in their time of need? In the midst of the uncertainty, one thing was clear: Earth had to decide. Should humanity take the risk and offer aid to a potentially dangerous species? Or should it remain cautious, waiting for more information? The clock was ticking, and the fate of an entire alien race hung in the balance. As leaders and experts debated, one thing weighed heavily on their minds. What if this was humanity's one and only chance to make contact with another civilization? This call for help could be the turning point in human history, or it could be the beginning of an unimaginable disaster. Every minute, the situation grew more urgent. As the alien race waited, watching and hoping that humanity would hear their plea, the entire world held its breath, knowing that the decision to respond or not could change everything. Would humanity rise to the challenge, or would it retreat into fear and uncertainty? The future of both species depended on the next move. The call for help had been heard. Now, humanity had to decide what kind of future it would create. The message had been received, and the world was in chaos. The global leaders and military experts gathered in secret, trying to decipher the meaning of the call for help. The desperation in the alien transmission was clear, but so were the risks. Was this a trap? Were they being lured into a conflict they couldn't win? Or was it a genuine plea for assistance, one that could change the fate of both species forever? Time was running out. As the debate raged on, a strange sense of urgency began to settle over the entire planet. People everywhere started to talk about the aliens. Were they peaceful? Were they capable of harm? The questions seemed endless. Meanwhile, the aliens' fleet remained silent, hovering at the edge of Earth's atmosphere, waiting. Then, without warning, the alien ships appeared. Massive, towering vessels that dwarfed anything humanity had ever seen. The world watched in stunned silence as the ships emerged from the depths of space, their sleek, metallic surfaces glistening in the light of the distant stars. They did not fire weapons or send any signals of aggression. They simply hovered, waiting. The first contact, something humanity had long feared, had arrived. The world's leaders scrambled to make sense of it all. Scientists analyzed every possible variable, every signal, every piece of data they could gather. Some believed that the aliens were trying to intimidate Earth. Others suspected they were trying to communicate. No one knew for sure. The alien ships didn't descend to the ground. They remained in space, as if observing Earth, studying it. It was clear that they had some kind of technological advantage, far beyond anything humanity had ever developed. Their ships were equipped with shields that made them almost impervious to Earth's weaponry. This only added to the tension. Then came the first message. It wasn't a transmission this time, it was a direct communication. A single alien ship sent a beam of light toward Earth, and a hologram appeared in the sky above the United Nations headquarters. The image was of an alien figure, tall and imposing, yet strangely peaceful in appearance. Its eyes glowed faintly, and its voice, though strange and mechanical, was surprisingly calm. "We have come as requested. You may help us now." The message was chilling in its simplicity. There was no apology for the fear and confusion they had caused, no explanation for why they had come, just the simple statement that humanity was expected to help. The alien presence was a silent challenge, pushing humanity to take the next step. But was humanity ready? As the days passed, the world's leaders convened again. This time they didn't argue over whether to respond, they discussed what kind of response would be appropriate. Do they open the door to potential allies, or do they show the aliens that humanity would not be intimidated? The aliens had given their message. Now, humanity had to decide how to react. Would they show their strength, or would they extend a hand of peace? The world held its breath, waiting for Earth's next move. But as the fleet hovered silently above, something else began to happen. Across the world, people started to gather in groups. They whispered to each other, sharing their fears, their hopes. Some felt a surge of pride, thinking that humanity's moment had finally come. Others feared the unknown, wondering if they were making the biggest mistake of their lives. In the midst of the uncertainty, one thing was clear. Humanity had never faced a decision like this before. The call for help had been heard. Now it was up to Earth to decide what kind of future it would create. As the days stretched on, the tension between Earth's leaders and the alien presence in the sky grew palpable. The initial shock had worn off, replaced by a growing sense of uncertainty. Humanity, once united by the fear of invasion, now found itself fractured. Some saw the alien arrival as a chance to form an alliance, a new chapter in human history where Earth could rise as a galactic power. Others, more cautious, viewed it as a dangerous game, one where any misstep could lead to disaster. Earth's military had already begun to mobilize. Massive fleets of warships filled the skies, silently floating in low orbit, ready for whatever might come. On the ground, every country tightened security, their forces standing by for any signs of aggression. The aliens had yet to make any offensive moves, but their ships were undeniably superior. Their size, their sleekness, and their strange, glowing patterns suggested that these beings were far beyond anything humanity could muster. Every expert who examined their ships had no answers. No technology on Earth could match theirs. How did they achieve this kind of power? What if they could destroy Earth without even lifting a finger? In the midst of the uncertainty, Earth's leaders received another message, this one even more cryptic than before. The hologram flickered into existence, this time showing an alien woman. She was tall, with skin that shimmered like silver, and her eyes gleamed with an unnatural, otherworldly light. She spoke, but the words weren't translated directly. Instead, they appeared in human languages across the skies, as though the message had been tailor-made for Earth. "We did not come to conquer, we came to survive. The choice is yours, help us, and we will work together. Refuse, and we will leave. Our time is running out, and we cannot survive alone." The words were clear, but they did little to ease the rising anxiety. Humanity's leaders had expected a demand for resources, for weapons, for something that could tip the balance of power in favor of the aliens. But the message seemed different. They weren't asking for weapons. They weren't demanding land or anything material. They wanted help, and the urgency was unmistakable. Still, doubts lingered in the air. Could these aliens be trusted? What would happen if they were left unchecked? Behind closed doors, a new plan began to form, one that would push the boundaries of human strength and power. What had started as an inquiry into peaceful coexistence had now become a strategy to show the aliens that humanity would not be pushed around. The Earth's military leaders decided to make a bold move. They would gather every available fleet in one location, not in an act of aggression, but in a show of strength. It was a calculated risk. Humanity wasn't just showing its power for display. They were setting the terms. No alien, no matter how advanced, could simply demand help without consequences. But as the human ships assembled in the depths of space, a new wave of doubt struck. Was this the right move? Could humanity afford to show such force, especially if the aliens were truly in need of help? The fleets of Earth stood ready in orbit, waiting for the next move from the aliens. Tension was rising faster than ever. People on the ground were glued to their screens, watching as this interstellar drama unfolded. The weight of the world of the entire human race seemed to hang in the balance. The next few hours would determine the fate of not only Earth, but of the universe itself. Would humanity rise to the occasion, or would they become the very thing they feared, another aggressor in a galaxy of unknowns? And so, humanity waited. as the clock ticked down. The tension in space was becoming unbearable. Earth's fleet hovered in formation, poised and ready. It was a sight that no one on Earth had ever witnessed before, an entire armada of human ships, each one massive and bristling with technology. The ships floated in perfect alignment, a symbol of Earth's strength and unity. But there was a lingering question in the air. Would it be enough? The alien ships remained in position as well, still silent, still watching. Humanity's fleet had shown its might, but the aliens hadn't responded with any aggressive moves. Instead, they seemed to be studying, analyzing every action, every signal. There was no sign of fear in their presence, but neither was there a sense of readiness for war. It was as though they were waiting for humanity to make its next move. In the command centers on Earth, the leaders were on edge. The decision to assemble the fleet had been bold for some. The military commanders had insisted on strength, but some of the world's diplomats felt a rising sense of regret. Had they made a mistake by showing so much force? Was there still a chance for peaceful resolution, or had the path to war already been set in motion? Then, without warning, the aliens made their move. A single ship descended from the larger fleet, cutting through the air like a beam of light. It was different from the rest, smaller and sleeker, with patterns of light flowing across its surface, almost like liquid. As it moved closer to Earth's fleet, the entire world seemed to hold its breath. The ship landed slowly, deliberately, in front of humanity's flagship. It was a show of confidence, an alien act of trust. The massive ship stood in stark contrast to the tiny vessel that now rested before them, its shape smooth and almost elegant in the way it glided to a stop. The alien ship didn't release any weapons or show any signs of aggression. Instead, it emitted a soft hum, and a hologram appeared above it. This time the alien figure was no longer distant and imposing, it was close, its face visible, filled with emotion. The alien spoke directly to humanity for the first time, its voice calm but full of urgency. "We never intended to threaten you. Our survival is at stake, and our time is running out. The truth is, we have no choice but to rely on you now. We cannot survive without your help." The alien's words sent a shiver through those who listened. They were not the words of conquerors, nor of enemies. They were the words of a race on the brink of extinction. Their civilization, their people, everything they had built was crumbling, and the help they sought was not a weapon or technology, but the promise of survival. As the words echoed through Earth's command centers, a profound realization hit. The aliens weren't here to take, they were here to plead for their lives. Their message wasn't about power or control. It was a simple request for assistance. Yet, the questions remained. Could humanity afford to show mercy? Could Earth be trusted to help a species they knew so little about? The diplomats quickly moved into action. It was clear that the situation had shifted. The show of military power had been a response to fear, but now, that fear seemed misplaced. The world's leaders debated fiercely. Should they agree to help, or should they maintain their stance of caution? There was a growing sense that the decision would define humanity's place in the universe forever. But while the leaders deliberated, the rest of Earth was watching. The people of the world had begun to grasp the gravity of the situation. The aliens, it seemed, weren't enemies. They were survivors, just like humanity, vulnerable, struggling, and looking for a way out. The question was no longer about power, it was about compassion, trust, and what kind of future Earth wanted to build in the stars. The clock ticked down, and the fate of the alien race and possibly humanity itself hung in the balance. The silence that followed the alien's plea was unlike anything the world had ever experienced. For a moment, it felt as if time itself had paused, holding its breath. The hologram of the alien ambassador flickered, its image shimmering with urgency. The entire Earth watched, the weight of the moment pressing on every individual. This was no longer just about politics or power, it was a matter of survival, trust, and the future of two species. In the heart of the United Nations, leaders from every nation sat in tense silence, watching the display unfold. The diplomats, who had initially argued for restraint, now found themselves at the crossroads of a decision that could change the course of history. Their voices, once filled with certainty, were now drowned in doubt. Some felt the need to act swiftly, offering the help the aliens so desperately needed. Others were hesitant, unsure whether to take the risk of aligning with an unknown species, unsure of the consequences that might follow. Around the world, people had already begun to form their own opinions. News networks buzzed with discussions, social media erupted with heated debates, and in the streets, crowds gathered to watch the spectacle unfold. The uncertainty was shared by everyone. No one knew if this was the beginning of a new era of peace or the spark of something much darker. What if the aliens were deceiving them? What if they were lulling humanity into a false sense of security before striking? But there was also something else, an undeniable sense of pride. Earth's leaders had shown strength. They had stood tall, showing the alien fleet that humanity was not to be trifled with. But now, the question was whether that strength could be tempered with compassion. Could humans show mercy to a species that had, for all they knew, come to their doorstep in desperation? At the same time, in the command centers, military officers readied themselves, awaiting orders. The ships in orbit remained in place, their weapons powered down but on standby. They had shown their force, but now the world was on the brink of something new. Would humanity extend its hand in alliance, or would they retreat back into fear and suspicion? As the aliens awaited an answer, it was clear that the decision could go either way. Suddenly, the alien ambassador's voice cut through the air again, softer now, as if it recognized the gravity of the situation. "We offer no lies," the alien said. "We come not to take, but to survive, to share knowledge, to work together, to build a future where both of our races can thrive. We have seen the future. If we do not act together, we will both fall." It wasn't just a play, it was a warning that resonated deep within humanity's collective consciousness. The aliens were not asking for domination. They were asking for help, not just for themselves, but for the entire galaxy. In that moment, something profound shifted in the hearts of Earth's leaders. The decision was no longer about fear. It was about survival, not just as individuals, or even as nations, but as a species capable of reaching beyond the stars. As the ambassadors waited in silence, the human commanders stood ready, their fingers hovering over the communication controls. What would Earth choose? It was more than just an answer. It was a choice about humanity's future in the cosmos. And, for the first time in history, the weight of their actions would be felt by more than just the people of Earth. The entire universe was watching. The next words spoken, the next move made, would shape not just Earth's destiny but the destiny of both species. And so, as the quiet stretched on, the world waited. Humanity's answer, whatever it would be, would echo across the stars forever. The moment of decision had arrived. In the depths of Earth's command centers, military leaders, diplomats, and scientists sat in a tense silence, awaiting the final order. The alien ambassador's words hung in the air like a heavy cloud. "We are asking for help, not conquest." Yet, despite the sincerity in the alien's voice, the weight of the situation was not lost on anyone. Humanity's fate rested on what would come next. The question was no longer just about survival, but about what kind of civilization Earth wanted to be. Around the world, millions of people stared at their screens, unsure of what the next few moments would bring. Would Earth show its strength once more? Would it stand its ground and reject the aliens' plea, fearing a future that no one could predict? Or would humanity rise to the occasion, putting its power on display, not through force, but through compassion and partnership? As the debate continued in private, a surge of voices from the people emerged. From crowded streets to online forums, citizens of Earth began to make their voices heard. For the first time, the people of Earth were unified in one thing: hope. Hope for something beyond the confines of war. Hope that humanity, in all its flaws, could show mercy. That it could be a force for good in the galaxy. But it wasn't an easy decision. There were too many variables, too many unknowns. What if the alien's plea was genuine, but hidden beneath it lay another, darker truth? What if accepting them into Earth's fold meant exposing humanity to an even greater threat than what was currently hovering in the skies above? Would their civilization truly integrate with humanity, or would their presence only lead to further complications and unrest? At that moment a breakthrough came. A young, unassuming officer, someone whose name wasn't yet known in the annals of history, stood up. He was a military strategist, known for his unorthodox thinking. But now he would make a move that would alter the course of everything. With quiet confidence, he addressed the room. Why not meet them halfway? It was an idea that had been dismissed in earlier discussions as naive. Yet, in his words, something resonated. Why must humanity either stand in complete opposition or complete submission? Instead of choosing between war or surrender, he proposed a third path: cooperation, a partnership, a united front to face the challenges that both species were now facing together. His plan was simple, yet profound. Humanity would offer the help that aliens so desperately needed. But in exchange, there would be an agreement, one that would ensure Earth's safety and establish a framework for mutual growth. Humans had their own advanced technologies, knowledge of the cosmos, and resources. The aliens had their own strengths. Together they could forge something stronger than either could achieve alone. As his voice echoed through the room, it became clear this was the solution. Humanity didn't need to be afraid. By offering their help, they would show the universe what they stood for, not just fearsome warriors, but creators, protectors, and allies. In that moment, the Earth's leaders knew what had to be done. The plan was set into motion. Earth would extend its hand to the aliens, not in weakness, but in strength. The decision wasn't just about survival, it was about the kind of future humanity wanted to build. Not only for itself, but for the universe. A future defined by cooperation, trust, and mutual respect. As the final messages were sent, the world watched in anticipation. The alien ships, once a symbol of fear, now seemed less threatening. They were no longer looming over Earth like a dark shadow. Instead, they were a reminder of what could be achieved when two species chose to work together. Humanity had made its choice. It wasn't about domination, and it wasn't about submission. It was about building something better, a future that both Earth and the aliens could share. And as Earth's fleet moved into position, ready to offer its hand to the aliens, a new chapter in history began. The universe had watched humanity's response, and now humanity was ready to take its place among the stars. The moment the final decision was made, a strange calm fell over Earth. The tension that had gripped the world for so long seemed to dissipate, replaced by a sense of anticipation. It wasn't just about the alliance, it was about what it represented. A new beginning for humanity. A future where Earth was no longer just a small, isolated planet but a player on the galactic stage, ready to extend its hand to others in need. That as Earth's fleet moved into position alongside the alien ships, the world watched in awe. No longer was there fear in the air. Instead, there was a quiet understanding that this was the start of something monumental. The fleets of both species stood side by side, their massive forms floating in the vastness of space, as if the universe itself was watching. They were no longer two opposing forces. They were partners, bound by a common goal of survival. The alien ships, which once seemed like a terrifying reminder of humanity's vulnerability, now looked like a bridge between two worlds. Their sleek designs, glowing softly in the dark expanse of space, were not just symbols of their advanced technology, they were symbols of a shared future. The leaders of both species had come to an agreement, and now, the real work would begin. It wasn't just about survival anymore, it was about collaboration, understanding, and growth. Back on Earth, the mood was one of cautious optimism. People were still uncertain of what the future held, but they had hope. The fear of invasion had been replaced by curiosity about what this partnership would bring. Scientists began working alongside their alien counterparts, sharing knowledge, technology, and insights. The exchange was slow at first, each side taking time to understand the other, but it was clear that the foundation of something incredible was being built. Meanwhile, the alien race, once on the brink of extinction, began to find new hope. Their planet, ravaged by their dying sun and crumbling resources, now had a chance to rebuild. They had a long way to go, but the humans had shown them something and in return, the aliens offered their knowledge of deep space, their advanced medical techniques, and a new understanding of the cosmos. It was a relationship that went beyond simple, and it was an exchange of everything each species had learned. The good and the bad. The galaxy, once a mysterious and dangerous place, had now become a field of endless possibility. With Earth's newfound allies, humanity could expand its reach beyond the stars, exploring new worlds and discovering new forms of life. But the journey was just beginning. What they had learned from each other was only the first step. There would be challenges ahead, moments of doubt and hardship, but Earth was no longer alone in the universe. And the universe had just learned that humanity was a force to be reckoned with, not through strength alone, but through its willingness to help, to trust, and to grow. As the two fleets stood together, Earth's leaders looked to the stars with a renewed sense of purpose. This was just the beginning of a new chapter in the history of both species. The universe was vast, but now, humanity had a place in it, a place earned not by conquering, but by standing together with those who needed them. And in the silence of space, as the two fleets drifted side by side, it was clear humanity had found its place among the stars, not as conquerors, but as protectors, partners, and survivors.